All right. Thank you for tuning in to the live Christmas drawing for August 10th, 2022. Had a little bit of a late start here. I still have to make some adjustments here real quick. But yeah, one of those situations where I thought I had everything set up, but I was recently messing around with some Wi-Fi settings and disconnected my computer from the network. So I was having some issues, but I am here now and we are ready to go with today's live drawing. Look at this. We even got some extra junk on the screen there. Looks like the camera thing I'm using added their little logo up top. So this goes out to XSplit VCam. Thanks for ruining my picture over there with your dumb thing that I'm going to have to edit that out later. I could work on that. No big deal. All right. So for today's drawing, I'm going to draw an item that I would like to own, but it's a little bit too expensive. It's a new item coming out from Hallmark, not sponsored. Just so you know, not a sponsor of this episode, but it's an item that you can check out on hallmark.com/Skellington. It was in the Christmas catalog that I got. This item is in there. I'm going to draw my version of it, but it's really cool. So if you haven't picked up on this by now, I'm a big Nightmare Before Christmas fan. So this item is of Jack Skellington, and it's this really cool animated wreath that they have available this year. Like I said, it's a little too pricey for me. I think it's $140, something like that. But on their website, they show it in action in all of its glory. But it's basically, I would assume it's like a rubber head of Jack Skellington, right in the center of a wreath. And he's got a Santa hat on, he's Santa beard. And I do have a Jack Skellington Santa hat that has the big beard on it. I'll dig that out at some point once I start getting some decorations going in the house. But I'm going to, like I said, I'll draw my version of this. And you could check it out, like I said, on that website. Not sponsored, so unless Hallmark wants to send me one, I'll gladly accept one. So basic pencil sketch drawing here of Jack Skellington. And this one's cool because, like I said, it's fully animated. His head looks like it's a rubber. You can see it when it moves, when he's talking. I'm loving it. I'd like to own this guy. But it's one of those things too, where when Jack's talking, he's got teeth and everything. And in this one, it looks like it moves pretty good. I don't think it moves like left and right. It just has the mouth moving. Might say a few phrases here. Now, they have a regular Santa hat on it, but as we know from the movie, Jack Skellington's hat's not a regular one. So if I made his beard coming down like that, I'm gonna make his hat come like this, because Jack Skellington's got a really janky, crooked Christmas hat. But if you think of it, Sally's the one that made it for him, because he showed her a picture of the outfit and she made it. So that's how it looks. So that's basically the premise of the Jack Skellington wreath. I mean, it's basically going to be a wreath behind him. So what I'm going to do when I do the ink layer, I'm going to draw the wreath, and I'll do the Jack Skellington's head as a separate layer on top of that, and just add it on top. So that way I could just draw the wreath as one solid item and then just draw Jack on the top of it. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to go add a new layer, and I'm going to work on the wreath. And I'm really debating doing my holiday brush. Wait, maybe it's not in the holiday brush one. It might be in tree. Let me see. Imported. I know I have one somewhere where it's just a. Oh, you know what? I think it might be. I mean, it's going to take me a minute to look for this. The one that I kind of like to use for grass type of a thing. I can't remember where it's located. Organic. Probably the best place to be putting it is an organic file, and that's where it is. Swordgrass. So I like to use the swordgrass. Let me see what wild grass would look like real quick. We're going to make this dark green, like a wreath, as you would imagine. Let me see what that looks like. It's all right. Let me make it a little smaller and see. I mean, it definitely looks like grass, so I'm going to add a little bit of a different texture to it a little bit later. But let's try swordgrass, see what that one looks like. That one might be a little more wreath-like. Yeah, we're going to go with swordgrass. That's the one we're going to use. Let's make that a bit of a darker green and shrink it down just a tad. And the cool thing about this wreath is it's a lighted wreath. So we're going to draw some lights on the top of that. And like I said, to make this a little bit more wreath-like and not blatantly grass like that, I'm just going to add an ink outline to it. And I'm just going to just do little, I don't know, just little pieces like coming off of it. Nothing much, but I was thinking it would be kind of cool even to use the trees, like the pine trees that I have, and just shrink them down. I wonder if that would be something that would look cool. Shrunken down pine trees. Just to get that the look of an evergreen. So I'm going to do that real quick and see what would happen. Yeah, let's pick this guy. He looks pretty random. I don't want it to look like the stems are on it though, so it might not work out too well, but we'll see. That was very tiny. It's like hidden in there, so yeah, I don't like it because it just puts them on there straight. I know there's ways to change that, but we're going to just leave it how it was. Go back to my syrup ink layer here. Again, most of this is going to be covered by Jack's head anyway. But when you're doing this, what I could do is then I'll just bring the pencil layer back to the foreground so that'll be on top of the wreath. But for now, I'm just going to work on the wreath. And it looks like it has clear lights. Not really a fan of clear lights like when they look white like they do in this version. So I kind of wish there'd be a way you could change it to like multi or that more yellowish look. But they have white lights on this. Holiday brushes, I believe I have some lights in here. I got string lights. But I'm wondering if I should go with the lights that I have in here, this little flare. Let me see what this would look like. Well, that's pretty bright, but we'll shrink it down. That way it'll look like it's lit up. You know what? Before I do that, let me erase those. I'm going to do those as a separate layer just because I want to put a shadow layer, and you don't want shadows on the lights, obviously. So we're going to go back to here, and now we'll just add them in on top. That way I could work in between the layers. That looks like a nice amount of lights. We'll put one more over here. Now I'm going to add a new layer. If you see up in the corner there, I have 3 layers right now. First layer is going to disappear. That's my pencil layer. So in between layer 2 and 3, I'm going to add one. So I'm going to drag that in between. That way I could put a shadow layer on this. And what that's going to do is add a shadow on top of the wreath, but underneath the lights, if that makes sense. So basically picture it like a sandwich where now I'm going to be working on the middle. So for an example, I'll show you really large here. See, it's on top of the wreath, but behind the lights. So we're going to drop the opacity on that. That way I could just kind of work a shadow in here. Gotta make sure you hit it on the right spot. That'll give it more of a 3D look. And I'm not sure how much of this you're going to see anyway, because Jack's going to be on top of it. Then if you wanted to blend it a little bit, it could be blended so it's not so dark. I kind of just made it disappear though. But I think we'll leave it like that. Kind of looks a little more 3-dimensional. Not really, but we'll keep it. So now we're going to add another layer that's going to go on top of everything, and that's going to be Jack. So what I'm going to do for this, I'm just going to bring my pencil layer all the way up to the foreground. That way it puts it on top. And then so it's easier to see, I'm going to drop the opacity on that wreath, or I could even turn it off. It doesn't matter. But now we're going to just do a solid black ink layer for Jack, just to get his outline in. And again, I'm going to do a layer on top of this one yet. That's going to be the fur on the hat. So I'm going to lighten this up as well, just so I could see a little easier. So no matter what I draw on here, it's going to be covered by the fur anyway. So I'm going to zoom in so it's a little easier to see. It's really distracting with that X split cam thing on the screen there. Sorry about that. All right, so we draw Jack's eyes. I'm going to erase that right eye. Doesn't sit right with me. Looks a little lopsided there. That's a little bit better. Then we'll draw. Is it safe to say lips? I mean, he's a skeleton, so I don't know what you would call them. Guess it really wouldn't be lips, but a couple of teeth in here, and Jack's got some pretty yellowed teeth, so we'll add that in the color layer. And then I'm going to shrink this a little bit more, and then I'm going to do these lines that Jack's lips, if you want to call them lips, have. They do Jack so many different ways. Some of them, like on the drawings, it always looks like his lips are stitched closed, but obviously they're not. But a classic Jack, whenever you see him, he's usually has his mouth closed, like on a lot of different products. That's why it's always kind of weird to draw one with his mouth open. But I figure since this is an animated talking wreath, I'm going to draw it with the mouth open a little bit. Again, if you want to check this wreath out, not sponsored, hallmark.com/Skellington to check it out. Got a full video of it working there. It's quite enjoyable. All right, so now we're going to do the hat. I'm going to thicken this back up. And again, it could look all janky because that's how it would probably look anyway. Now on the real one from Hallmark, the hat's not this large. I'm just drawing it like this just to put my own spin on it. Didn't like that right there where it touched. And then I'm just going to close this off up here just because I want to autofill the hat in, so I don't want to make it just fill the whole background in. So I think what I'm going to do there is I'm going to reference this layer now, add a new layer that's going to go under this one, and then I'm going to fill this in. So we're going to fill the hat in red like that, and the cotton on the rim and the end of the hat we're going to do on a separate layer as well. But on this layer we're going to do Jack's teeth, again yellow. We'll leave them like that, and we'll see if we could fill these in. I'm starting to get excited though. A lot of the stores are slowly rolling out their Halloween merchandise, which means Christmas shortly after that, but excited to get to Lowe's and see their stuff. Supposedly they got a lot of Nightmare Before Christmas stuff this year to check out. And we'll fill the inside of his mouth black or close to black. And his eyes will do the same. And we'll go back to the shadow layer. Well, actually, I'm going to do another layer for the shadow on top of Jack. Basically looks like all that I have to do on Jack there. There's not too much. So we're going to add another layer, and we'll leave it right where it's at, and this will be our shadow layer. So we're going to add a shadow to all this stuff. And I think I could get rid of this pencil layer now just because it's kind of in the way. So we'll go leave our shadow on here. And we'll work a little bit of shadowing on his face here. I might blend some of this in a little bit so it's not as harsh. And we'll see what this looks like. I don't want to blend it too much. I don't really work with the blend tool too often just because I kind of like the look of a hard shadow. Now it kind of looks like you just got done drinking some Kool-Aid. So I got to get rid of this Kool-Aid lip. That doesn't look too bad. Now we'll work on this shadow, blending this a little bit. And a little bit by his nose there. All right, that looks pretty good for the shadows. Now I'll just put one larger one kind of around his face. And we'll blend that one a little bit. All right, now let's go back to our reference layer. I'm just gonna add a little bit of a mess on him here. A couple of the token pieces that I enjoy putting on my artwork. Now we're gonna go back, add a new layer on top of everything, and that's gonna be our white layer. But I guess before I do that, so I don't lose it, let me select the background and I'm going to color it. So let's see. If I add a layer, pull it behind everything. Okay, then I'm going to select it, see what would happen. I don't like that. I don't want to have everything disappear, so I might just delete that layer. Let me go back up here and let me go to the pure white. Then we're going to go to the holiday brush for aligning, and that's where we're going to draw the ball here. Again, hard to see because of that, so let me change the background color. Let's go. Let's see. With this being a green wreath, I'm trying to think what I should go with. What kind of color background? Let's stick with some oranges here. See what we can do. Yeah, that might work. All right, so let me finish this ball here. Sorry, I have to erase that and go back to the background color. Pull it over to the orange. There we go. Now we can do the fur here. And we'll do the fur lining on the hat. And then his beard. Can't forget about the beard. So let me just bring that layer back up just so I could see, because I kind of forgot where I was going with the beard. All right, now we're going to just fill that in, and then we'll do a little bit of shading on this layer just because it needs it. Otherwise, it'll just look really flat. But we're going to leave it on the fur like that. It's a little too dark. I want to give it some dimension without really. Okay, so we'll add a little bit on the bottom here. and some of it coming from the inside. Not too much. That didn't look right. Okay, we'll leave it like that. Now, what I got to do, since his face is obviously colored as the background, we're going to add one more behind the reference layer and fill that in. It should turn his face white and keep all of our shadows, which it did not because I have to move it. I either need to move the shadows. All right, that's got to go. I'm trying to find the shadow layer here. Oh, there it is. So I got to move this one lower. There we go. Now all the shadows are back on his face, if you could see that. So now, because I don't like that look of the beard and everything just sitting like that, I'm going to go back to my reference layer one more time. And, I'm going to do it on the beard layer. And I'm just going to do a few straggles of the beard. I don't want to outline it like completely, so I'm just kind of adding a little bit of stuff here and there. And I'll do the same thing with the hat. Drop my pencil again. I never do that when I'm not on here live. But then again, when I'm not on here live, I usually don't draw with the glove on my hand like I do now. All right, so there's that. And now what we're going to do is go back to our wreath layer. If you remember, we dropped that down, and we're going to bring that all the way back up, and we are left with our finished product. So now I'm just going to sign it. I'm going to do that back on the reference layer. Let me go to calligraphy brush, and I'm going to sign it, and then this piece is done. Okay, so today is August 10th. So we're on to a double digit here. And that is the animated wreath, Jack Skellington wreath, that's available at Hallmark this year. So if there's ever any around, sticking around after Christmas on clearance, then maybe I'll pick one up. But for the most part, hallmark.com/Skellington if you want to see it in action. Not a sponsor again. If you want some more Christmas content from me every day, I'm posting Christmas drawings over on my Instagram account. That is at Ague Designs, AGUEDESIGNS. I post daily over there, Christmas drawing every day. And if you want a little bit of an extra Christmas stuff to listen to, you could check out the Closer to Christmas podcast. You could get that on anywhere you listen to podcasts. Just search it up, look for it. It'll be on there. More episodes coming out soon. So make sure you check back here next Wednesday if you want to see another live art drawing. If you have any suggestions of anything you'd like to see me draw, you could send me an email. That would be aguedesigns@gmail.com, AGUEDESIGNS @gmail.com. You could send me an email if you have any ideas for some upcoming projects, upcoming drawings you'd like to see me tackle. I could do that. And until next week, I hope you guys have a good one. Talk to you guys later.